What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and I finally was able to watch Rebel Moon Chapter 1, The Chalice of Blood, and Rebel Moon Chapter 2, The Curse of Forgiveness, aka the director's cuts of Rebel Moon. But I'm referring to them as chapters because that's what it says in those movies, and it's there for a reason that I'll get into later. So, first of all, I was one of those people that did like the PG-13 cuts of Rebel Moon, and granted, I benefited from not being huge into space operas because for the most part, a lot of these films that I know of, so let me say that I'm not a film encyclopedia, I haven't seen everything, but from the ones that I know of and have seen, they tend to be more family oriented or they aim for a wider audience. So they just miss the edge that I like. I mean, my favorite genre is horror, so I'm naturally like more hardcore stuff. And a lot of these movies just don't offer that. In fact, my favorite space opera film is The Fifth Element because I feel like it scratches that itch of kind of being kind of grunge, punkish, steam iron-esque with a lot of shoot 'em up type stuff that I really like, and just the themes that it plays with, it just feels more adult. It's another reason why I like Doom 1 and Part 2, the ones that Denis directed, because they just feel way more mature than what I'm used to, and I can definitely now add Rebel Moon's Chapter 1 and 2 into that bucket because these joints slap. I now have something to stand on when it comes to these movies, and not to say I'm going to be debating people or whatever, but I can express myself fully over these films now because they're exactly what I wanted from what Zach was talking about, and it's exactly the type of space opera film that I wanted. It's equal parts mythology and fantasy as it is that high sci-fi space opera-esque things that you want in a story like this. I loved both chapters, and it honestly kind of makes me a little bit about this whole plan that Netflix did, because I know there are going to be a lot of people who don't watch either one of these director's cuts because they saw the first two and they pushed the first two so much. I mean, both of these chapters haven't even cracked top 10, so that says a lot because there really hadn't been any promotion. Part 1 was the only one that they really did promote a lot, but I'm guessing Netflix got what they want. I mean, they have been pretty happy in talking about the numbers that they pulled in with Rebel Moon's Part 1 and Part 2, so I guess it's a win for them. But I just think that if they wanted to make a franchise and build a franchise that people really cared about, they should have led with these two versions of the films, because this is everything that we would expect. And when you hear Zach talk about the films, this is what he's saying. And I know I'm all over the place, but I'm just excited to talk about this movie because it just is incredible. Bear with me here, because really the point of me doing this review is just to kind of talk about how much different these two sets of movies are, to hopefully convince folks to go out there and rewatch it and spend their 6 hours, which I feel like is worth it, on watching these films. I mean, Chapter 1 opens with a whole new sequence that sets the tone for the rest of the movies. As soon as you see this 20-minute sequence, you're like, okay, this is a totally different film than the PG-13 cuts. And there's just so much mythology and things wrapped up in those first 20 minutes that spread across both films that was vastly missing in the other two parts of the film, man. What both films do a lot is they just give you more story and give you more small character moments to help build out the story. Like in Chapter 1, again, those first 20 minutes give you backstory on a character who was just pretty much a throwaway in the PG-13 cut. Now he has a whole backstory to him, and you understand his motives and why he's able to do the things and why he is the way he is. I'm not gonna say who it is because I don't want to spoil it, but man, that joint was incredible. And it even makes Noble that much more ruthless. And honestly, both chapters, he's way more ruthless as a leader for the Mother World. I mean, there's something he does in the third act of Chapter 2 that I'm just like shocked at just how brutal and how much he does not care. And you get that sense from him because he's unhinged here. He's cussing like a sailor, and it's incredible, honestly. Like, literally, in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 compared to their PG-13 counterparts, the performances are even different. Like, it could be the same line said, but it's acted differently from the actor. And I find that just to be fascinating that Zach pretty much shot 4 different movies. It's insane. But to keep on what I was saying about the lore, there are a lot of different things explained more. There's a lot more to, like I said, characters that weren't there, like those priests that you see who are in burgundy and the mask. There's this whole thing that they do throughout the movie that was completely cut that adds credence to something that happens later on in Chapter 1. For instance, in the third act, when Cora is fighting Noble, she hits him with the staff and his teeth fall out. And, you know, it's a funny scene. You're like, dang, he knocked his teeth out. But there's some context to that imagery and how it plays out in the film earlier, that I was like, oh, it's connected to that. That's a cool flip and idea on what goes on earlier in the movie, because now he's in this position. I was like, this is so good. So there's a lot of mythology here that goes into chapter 1 and 2, and again in the third act. There is a moment that we see where Korra goes to blow up this mother-like statue, and something happens here that completely changes what you even think about this statue, and just it opens up a whole different world in just a minute's worth of time. There's a lot of gem moments like that. Hell, even the statue itself, there are just moments that get presented early on in chapter 2 that make you go, this is what they're doing? And I just love that not everything is given an explanation, but it doesn't mess up the movie. It's one of those things where you see it happening, you're trying to put the pieces together in your head like, what is that? And you even have some characters going like, what are you doing? And they don't get a response, and it just keeps going. And even though you don't know, it still works, and it just makes the world larger with little moments like that. There are a ton of character moments as well that build camaraderie, that make you feel like a team. For example, in chapter 1, when they first go to, I forgot what the world is, but where they meet the Blood Axes, Kai is talking junk to Tarek and Titus, and there's a moment when Titus wanted to fight him, and I'm like, these little moments like just add so much. And in chapter 2, in the final battle, Titus and Tarek are, looking at Milius fighting by herself in the trenches, and Tarek wants to go out there, but Titus holds him back like, don't go. She's pretty much dead. Tarek turns to him and says, General, cover me with blood or cover me with this. And he's holding a gun. He said, it's your choice. And Titus is like, go. It's just little moments like that that mean so much when it comes to the story. Getting to know people's personalities, getting to know these small gems and nuggets about them. Like that to me is some of the best parts of the film, is getting to know these characters more through these little moments like this. And another big change is the action. This film is brutal as fuck. Oh my God. When, watching the PG-13 cuts, the action in those films just seems okay. But the reason why it's like that is because it is extremely tame and compared to the R-rated cuts. In the PG-13 version, people get shot and they just fall. People get cut and they just fall. Not the case here. When people die, they die. And it's shown, and it makes every single attack, every single fight, every single gun blaze, whatever it is, hold that much more weight because of the effects of the attacks here. And it even makes these warriors even more ruthless, because they're not holding back. We're here to fight. So it just amps up the stakes on that side, and it even amps up the stakes of the good guys, because the same return attacks happen on them, and it just kind of leaves you like, God, every time something crazy does happen. This is what I would expect, honestly, and how I saw space fighting happen, because I'm like, if you get hit with a laser in the chest, I feel like it's gonna do more than just leave a burn on you. But another thing that makes them completely different is some of the score is different, which is crazy as hell. The film is color graded differently, which is wild. There are VFX in here that have been redone for the rated R versions, and certain stuff is even rearranged in the film, which I find to be crazy. Like, how did Zach do this? Like, it's literally 4 different films, and you can pick your poison, man. One of my other favorite parts about the film is Jimmy. We're now given a reason as to why he, has this look. And in PG-13 cut, you really don't get that. You just see him just walking around and just doing shit. But here, it is clear and concise where everything came from. You see where the cape comes from. You see where the horns come from. You see the staff, and you see the reason as to why this is going on when he runs away after killing a soldier. But it expounds more and more on that, and then you understand where this bot is coming from. Love it, man. I love the mythos. And I can't express enough that more runtime just opens up every character more and more. And what I will say is, when I first watched both parts, knowing that it's a director's cut, when I saw part 1 of the PG-13 cut, I could definitely tell, like, okay, I know that more story is gonna make this movie a lot better. I just know. But part 2 was where I was kind of like, what else could be in this movie to make it better? Because I genuinely liked part 2 as it is, and it made sense. But boy, oh boy, does it just work even better. it's still constructed the same way, where the first half of the movie is them at Velt kind of cropping and learning how to fight, but it's just extended more, and you get to see things happen over the, you know, a few days, whereas in the PG-13 cut it just kind of feels like it's one day and then we're on to the fight. But you get those different days and different nights back and forth to really understand, like, this, they're becoming a community. So by the time the fight happens, you actually care about everybody. Everybody's connected, everybody is down in the squad, and it just makes for a better battle. Now, there are a few things that I did not like, honestly, that I can point out, and really one of them is kind of me being greedy, and it's Nemesis, man. I really wanted her to have her moment of just like sheer battle mode, even though she does get a few fights. I liked all of her fights in chapter 1. I think the brutality adding to those sequences that she had definitely made them better for me, but I really wanted that in chapter 2 and don't really get a lot of it. And really ain't a complaint, because there's more than enough action for here that satisfied the shit out of me. But I just wanted her to have her moment of tearing through dudes. Like, there was an excellent sequence of Noble when he drops in the trenches that's extended that we don't see in the PG-13 cut, where he's just going ham. And I kind of wanted that for Nemesis, because she's such a cool character, has robot arms and holds these glowing blades. I really wanted to just see her just like slashing through people as these blades steam, but we don't get that, so that was a letdown. And then there's a moment in the third act that I wish would have had more connective tissue to it, and it has to do with a certain fleet saves the day, and I just would have wanted to see like some type of something to make that connect instead of making it just feel so abrupt. But overall, I love both films, and I think they are infinitely better than the PG-13 cuts. And I implore you, if you are interested watching this video, or you on the fence, please go watch those movies. They are so good, and I feel like these longer extended cuts, I can't even call them extended cuts because they're completely different. Again, they're way different, but this is like a journey. This is a space odyssey journey. You live in the moments. It's planetary travel, and it takes its time so you can feel every single place you are, or feel every single piece of camaraderie through the crew, and I loved it. So let me know in the comments what you thought about Rebel Moon, the director's cut. Did you like them? Did you love them? And of course, this is Zack Snyder, so if you didn't like them, please be kind, and you don't have to be here commenting. On my other video, I had a whole bunch of rude people just going in for no reason. Like, if you don't like Zack Snyder, why are you watching a video reviewing his movies? I don't get it. Move on and do something else. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.